Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into what I like to call a masterclass in bouncing back. We're looking at the incredible story of a 21-year-old entrepreneur named Ethan, a guy who literally lost absolutely everything he had built and was forced to figure out how to rebuild from absolute zero. This isn't just some emotional story, It is a strategic, step-by-step blueprint for surviving a total catastrophe. So think about this for a second. If you lost your entire livelihood overnight, would you genuinely have the courage to start from scratch? It's a terrifying thought, right? But it's also the ultimate test of resilience. When the structures we rely on just vanish, our first instinct is usually to freeze up. But pushing through that paralysis is exactly what separates the businesses that fail from the ones that pivot and eventually dominate. So let's dive deep into the mechanics of overcoming massive adversity when all seems completely lost. All right, let's start with phase 1, losing everything in one night. Let's look at just how fast a solid foundation can crumble. Before the disaster hit, Ethan's life was honestly full of promise. He ran this thriving, bustling, small family business with his super supportive mom, Anna, and his loyal best friend, Chris. It was the kind of vibrant place that felt, permanent. But look at this timeline. By nightfall, a massive, incredibly powerful fire broke out. And despite firefighters doing everything they could, by the very next morning, there was nothing left but ashes. In a matter of hours, an entire family's livelihood vanished. As the smoke cleared, neighbors were offering sympathy, sure, but they were also quietly whispering that Ethan was never going to recover from a blow like this. And as Ethan stood there in total silence, staring at the literal ashes of his dreams while his mom cried next to him, we get hit with this very stark truth. Life can change in a single moment. It's a pretty sobering reminder that past success absolutely does not guarantee future security. The psychological weight of that realization is huge. When your physical assets are wiped out, you're left with nothing but your own internal grit. Which brings us right into phase 2, the mindset to rebuild. The very next day, while the neighbors were still doubting him, Chris looked at his friend and asked the big question, "So, what now?" And instead of collapsing, Ethan takes a deep breath and simply says, "We build again." And guys, he backed that up with massive action immediately. He didn't wait around for a bank loan. He started generating cash flow right away by working any odd job he could find. We're talking delivering packages, washing cars, loading trucks. But here's the real kicker. He spent his nights relentlessly studying business books. He was literally paying the bills by day and building his intellectual capital by night. Now, all this insane hustle caught the eye of Mr. Howard, a highly successful entrepreneur who actually stepped in to mentor Ethan, and he dropped this incredibly profound piece of advice. He told him, losing everything isn't failure. Refusing to start again is. That is such a brilliant way to reframe things. By redefining failure, you strip away the ego and the negative emotions that stop you from taking action. Failure just becomes a temporary, solvable problem. Moving on to phase 3. Refusing the easy shortcuts.
Because as anyone who's been through hard times knows, desperation is a magnet for temptation. When you're at rock bottom, the fastest way up usually has a hidden cost. A pretty shady businessman named Victor Stone approached Ethan and offered him a massive shortcut. Basically, a quick cash injection if he agreed to sell fake products. But Ethan, he flat out said no. He made the strategic choice to play the long game. He prioritized honest work and his long-term reputation over a quick buck, knowing that his integrity was his most valuable asset.
So, by saving literally every single dollar, Ethan bootstrapped a lean, scrappy online business right out of a tiny garage, and he brought his buddy Chris on as his first employee. Now, startups are stressful, which is why a resilient culture is everything. Chris actually provided some much-needed comic relief during all this. After accidentally shipping a completely empty box to a customer, Chris just joked, "Maybe we invented invisible products." It's a great reminder that when you're starting from nothing, you absolutely need a sense of humor to keep morale up. All right, that leads us to phase 4, surviving the hardest test. Just as their scrappy little garage setup started getting some real traction, boom, a massive hurdle appears. A giant, well-funded competitor noticed Ethan's success and aggressively started ripping off his products. Ethan's sales just tanked overnight. It sent a wave of total panic through the team. One employee actually asked the terrifying question we all dread: what if we lose everything again? It's that awful feeling of secondary trauma, right? When a new roadblock makes you feel like you're back at square one. But Ethan refused to panic. He fired back with this incredibly clarifying response. They can copy our products. They can't copy our honesty. I mean, wow. He wasn't just trying to sound noble. He was recognizing his economic moat. Anybody with deep pockets can reverse engineer a product. But your company culture, your customer trust, your integrity, those are completely uncopyable. And by doubling down on that world-class service, those customers rightfully came right back to Ethan. Let's jump ahead to Phase 5, the ultimate comeback lessons. Fast forward 5 years, Ethan is definitely not in a garage anymore. He owns a wildly successful international company, and he's literally making magazine headlines. During an interview, a reporter asked how he found the strength to keep going back when he was standing in the ashes of his first shop. And Ethan shared this beautiful insight. He said, "I didn't lose everything that night. I still had hope." Think about that from a business perspective. True resilience is an internal asset that is 100% market-proof. And you know, the most successful leaders almost always find a way to turn their past struggles into community impact. To really cement his legacy, Ethan set up a charity fund specifically to help other families who lose their businesses to disasters. His mom, Anna, pointed out something so proud and beautiful. She said he successfully took his own personal pain and turned it into someone else's hope. Talk about a massive ripple effect. So, what's the actual blueprint we should take away from this explainer? It really comes down to 3 core lessons. Number 1, it is never too late to start again. Ethan proved that by pivoting from a burned-down shop to an e-commerce empire. Number 2, hope genuinely is stronger than failure. It's your ultimate asset. And number 3, the greatest comeback always begins with just one brave step. Maybe that's washing a car for some quick cash, opening a book to learn a new skill, or just saying no to a shady shortcut to protect your brand. There's this really poignant final scene in the story where Ethan goes back to stand exactly where his old shop used to be. A young kid walks up to him and asks, "Were you ever afraid to start over?" Ethan smiles and admits that, yeah, of course he was terrified, but he adds this piece of timeless wisdom. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite it. Courage isn't some magical feeling, it's a choice, it's an action you take every single day. The original material leaves us with this incredibly profound thought. Sometimes life takes everything away, only to show you what you're truly capable of. So, I want to leave you with one final question today. When the unexpected comes along and completely levels your world, and the dust finally settles, what will you discover you are truly capable of building from the ashes?